Well, we're finally back onto the coupe project. It's been a while, I know, and I'm really sorry about the delay. It's taken a bit of time to get all the components together, but I'm expecting the bell housing back either later today or first thing in the morning, depending on the couriers, of course. But we're going to start this episode by fitting the new pedal box to the car. And getting all the probably getting all the brakes all bled as well, so that's going to be quite exciting. Before we put the pedal box in, one of our subscribers has asked to have a bit of a closer look between the manual pedal box and the automatic pedal box, so we can have a look at that. You're watching TP's Diary. I'm Tom, and this is episode 10 of the manual gearbox conversion on my 1977 Jaguar XJC V12. So I've got my two pedal boxes here. This one is the new one that I've built up with the clutch and the clutch master cylinder. It's obviously got the brake master cylinder on it. And this is the old one, which I've actually disassembled in order to take the components out to make up this one. Now, the difference, there's not a lot of difference, if I'm being honest, apart from this pedal box has been machined in order to accept the clutch master cylinder. But the casting itself actually has all the provisions in order to take the clutch master cylinder on the old one. It just hasn't been machined. Now, I've done this once. I would actually feel fairly confident to machine this myself. I've got the kit here that I could actually do that. It obviously would always be very useful in order to have one that you can compare it to. Now, when this goes on, there is actually a gasket, a very thin gasket that sits between this and the car, which I don't have. So I'm going to just use a bit of sticky number plate tape, which is just like a very thin rubbery type material. So I'm just going to make up a gasket doing that. The other thing I found that I struggled with was all the fittings, the clutch master cylinder. I struggled with those fittings, and eventually I had to end up machining myself a little sort of like fitting, I suppose you can call it, and I'm going to solder that to the copper pipe once I've done it. Or I mean, I could actually put a flare on it. I might put a flare on it, actually. I could flare it. I don't need to solder it. Okay, so anyway, so that all fits there. So I did struggle with getting all these fittings together, but I did, I've obviously managed in the end. When you fit these, you have to remove the clutch pedal. So the end of the clutch pedal actually just unbolts. The reason for that is in the car, to get the lever through the bulkhead, you can't have the pedal on the end of the pedal on it. So anyway, so yeah, that is the brake pedal box assembly. In terms, I mean, if you haven't seen, I suppose that's the differences between the manual pedal box and the auto pedal box. You can then, if you want to see these all together, I'm going to just put up a little caption on which video to have a look at. I can't remember which episode it was off the top of my head, if I'm being honest, but I'll just put up a little thing now, right now, and that will tell you which video to have a look at, which is the video I did when I actually assembled the pedal box. So the first thing I'm going to do before I put it into the car is I'm just going to make up this little gasket. I'm just going to use a bit of cleaner just to clean off the surfaces, just to make sure that everything sort of sticks. And then I'm just going to run this around. Like so. A little bit like that. It's a bit rough, but it'll be fine. That's the little gasket on there. I think that'll be okay. So what we'll do now is we'll just set up and just drop it into the car and then get that bolted in. I just need to find the bolts for it. Be in there somewhere. So we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm ready now. I've just cleaned it all up. just touched up a few of the little chips and things that was there, and I'm now ready to get this pedal box in. So let's just grab it. Okay, here we go. Let's now move you out the way for a moment. Okay, right, let's get the bolts on the inside. Right, I'm just going to put that one in first. Okay, that's okay. Right, it's going to... Okay. Right, so now I'll put the master cylinder back on. Right. Okay, so that's the booster brake master cylinder and booster in. That's all. The pedal box is now in. I just need to now connect up the new clutch master cylinder, and then that job is finished. Okay, so in the workshop now, just going to finish off making up this pipe. So let's just cut it off where we need it, which is approximately about here, and then we're going to have to, unfortunately, you're going to have to straighten it out in order to get the fitting on. So what we'll do, possibly it would have been a good idea to actually put that on before. Let's straighten it out. Okay, that's nice and straight. Put it all on the right way around. Okay. So that's how we sort of set it up, and then what we do is we put this in. So it's just in line. If you're worried about it, you can just put that in like that. Line it up to the edge. Put that in on the top. Spin that round. Clamp him down, and then you take the two-stage part again. Yeah. And so what we do is we take punch one. Okay, which gives it a sort of a like a bevel part, and then two, and then we get our and that is it. As simple as that. Take him out. You end up with a perfectly fitting like so. Okay. The reason it's got this sleeve on it is because the fitting that's in the car is quite big. So what we'll do now is, that was approximately like that, wasn't it? I want to just bend that round like that. Okay. So let's go and get that in the car now, and that'll be that part of the system all finished up. let's get this on now. So I think what I'll do, okay, there's that. And let's just screw like that. There we go. So let's put a little copper washer on. Okay, so that is the basic setup. So what we just need to do is do everything up. That'll be that. And then the last one and that is how you put a manual pedal box into a Jaguar XJC V12. So yeah, I think that's done, which is good. So that all seems to work quite well. Yeah, quite happy with that. It's a bit weird seeing 3 pedals inside the car. So there you go. Yeah, three pedals in the car. It's a bit odd, but yeah, they look all fine to me. So yeah. Right, so let's get this handbrake mechanism sorted out. What I'm trying to achieve is for this lever to be sort of about there, so it doesn't actually have to be that far up. Where the mechanism comes out, there's a little pulley right on the end of the mechanism. Now I'm thinking if I just extended this little bracket out a little bit, I'm talking not much, then that will achieve what I want. So in other words, the pivot point is sort of out there somewhere, then that will be where I sort of roughly want it. I've already taken the split pin out of the one above because it was a bit easier before I came in. Let's just take the split pin out of here. Okay, that's the handbrake wire off. And then I believe this should just unclip like so. Yep. That's it. Now, if I take that pulley off, it's a bit tricky with everything in the way, but if I take that pulley off like that, okay, and then what I'm thinking, well, I'll draw out what I'm thinking. So if I can just put the piece of paper up behind it. I know it doesn't look like much, but actually we didn't get a bad drawing out of the that tight space. I know it doesn't look like a lot, but this is the edge of the bracket here. And so basically that's actually quite parallel, which is great. So what I want to try and achieve is actually I want to try and get the pivot point sort of about here. Let's just clean up this drawing a little bit. Put a center line through there. Okay, so that is approximately 13 millimeters. I don't think we'll get any further than that. I don't think we can, because it will hit the bottom of the steering column. So what we want to do now is create that. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Okay, I'm going to make up out of this piece of aluminium 2 brackets. Yeah, one to go either side of the current brackets that's there, or inboard. Could probably go inboard, I would imagine. So then we can create this little part on the bottom, and we can do one or two things. We can heat it and bend it over. So if you imagine this is the current bracket. We're putting a new one right next to it, and then bolting through. When the wire is wrapping around it and going down, this will be trying to go up. Okay, and so if we have that little piece underneath, then we're able to support that load, if that makes sense. Hopefully it makes sense. So what I can either do is can either try and bend a little tab round, or I could put a bolt through here with a little sleeve just to keep it all spaced apart nicely, and the bolt will do the same job. So I think what we need to do now is cut this out, put it onto our piece of aluminium here, and then cut it out of the aluminium, and then we can create the two brackets that we need, and then we can put them on the car and see how we get on. Yeah. Already got my scissors out, so let's just cut them out. Yeah, so I'm afraid it's a bit of elbow grease now, and a bit of file. Okay, so the main camera I didn't just turn on, so hopefully all the others have got the sound and everything else. You know, some days you have good days recording and some days you have bad days recording, and I'm hoping today is not going to be a bad day. So anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to move over to the pillar drill. Right, that is my bracket done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to bolt it onto the car, and then we can figure out what angle it needs to go at, and then I can put in a I can put in a bolt at the bottom here in order to stop it doing that. Let's see if it works. Let's see if this works, shall we? Now let's try and get this bolted in. It's a little bit awkward because everything sort of, your hands, the bracket, the cameras, everything is sort of in the same spot. Sort of having to go by feel more than anything else. So, right, let me just get a couple of 13mm spanners, and then what we want to do is we want to do that up, because I need to mark the bottom of it here so I have an idea where it's got to lie in this orientation, and I think it's going to be about there. I think. Let me just grab the spanners. That's all a bit of fun, isn't it? Actually feels good to be back on this car. Right, so I think need to do is now get you. No, it doesn't have to be tight. Just need to be tight enough to give me a little bit of playing. So I think it wants to be about there. It's sort of, and then where does that end up leaving that? Well, that, yeah. So there's plenty. So that's perfect. What I want to do now is just mark the bottom of it, because the idea now is I'm going to put a bolt through this far corner here, and then that will stop this trying to want to drive it down. Now, theoretically, when this is done, will we get more leverage? Maybe not, maybe, probably not. Insignificant, really. Anyway, I'm going to have to bend it. I'm going to have to bend the end of the bracket out a bit. Otherwise, this will bind up inside, which I don't want when we do this up. Right, so got our other bracket here, and you can see from there that we've got our line. That's the angle we're going to bend it at. Now the other thing is you can see from here, that is the pencil line, the bottom of the bracket. So what we need to do now is I want to put a bolt through there, but I'm going to have a bolt running all the way through, I think, if I find the right bolt. Okay, so I'm just going to machine myself up a few bushes and I'll show you why in just a moment. Let's just now put that back in the vise. So that is going there. Okay, so what we want to do now is I want to drill that hole out. So that's the bracket I want. All I have to do is make one more. Like that. Okay, so the next thing we have to do is I need to kink the bracket slightly. If we just pop him in to the vise like that, and get my hammer, like that. That's pretty much all I need to do, I think. And then same with that one. That's right, yeah. Okay. Bit more. Looks about right. So I'm hoping now that is going to just bolt on. So let's go and see if we can get them into the car, shall we? Okay, I think there's a fighting chance this might work. So I think let's now get them bolted in and see. And let's see what happens. No, hopefully that's going to be okay. So, is there enough space for two nuts there? Hope so. Hooray! It's on there. I do think this might work, you know. I'm going to have to put a rubber sleeve over there. I don't like the way that that's so close to the fuel line. But it'd be okay with a rubber sleeve on it to protect it. Oh God, I've done it. So this now should theoretically pop in like that. And look at that. And that's now going to work. So let's put this one back together. Right. Now I may have to adjust this. Yeah, I'll put that up on the board of things to make sure I've got to do. So at the minute I've got bleed brakes, bleed clutch. Hopefully you can see from there, I've now just extended this out. I don't know why I've had to do this, because in the book now this lever is in the correct orientation to where it should be. And if you haven't watched the videos before this one, the reason I'm doing this is because this lever was sitting on top of the exhaust when I put the exhaust in. So I knew I needed to move it up to give it a bit of clearance. I just need to cut the split pins and then we're done under here. And hopefully a box has arrived, and hopefully in the box is exactly what I hope it's going to be, and we can start getting some stuff going on the end of this engine. So righto, I'm going to climb out of here, get some side cutters, and just sort these split pins out, and then that job is done. So yes, the bell housing's back. thankfully. So they've remachined this front face, well, the face where the gearbox mounts on, to the dimensions that that we gave them. So what we're going to do now is I just need to make a couple of I'm just going to mark the this face again. We're then going to bolt it back onto the car and retake all of these measurements. I've also got a set of offset dowels because I'm pretty sure I'm going to need those. These are 7 thou offset dowels that should bring it back into spec. So fingers crossed. So let me just get these markings put on the front here, and then we can start getting it bolted on the car and getting these measurements done. Okay, let's get it back in the car and get these dimensions taken. Okay, so you got the same camera angle again, me sitting under the car. However, this time, hopefully, it's going to be quite exciting. What we're going to do is now get this bell housing on, get it set up and recheck. And then recheck these dimensions. Ow! Okay, so that took quite a long time to get set up. So yes, I was going to use that at 0, but I'm not going to anymore. I've got it now set at 12 o'clock. So we'll spin it round and I'll stop at each line. And we'll take a reading, and fingers crossed we don't have to do this again and we can just sign this bit off. So right, let's spin it to the first line. Okay, well that's still reading 0, which is good. Let's go to the next one, and that is at 0 as well. Right, let's go to the next one. Right, well, according to that, that is minus 0.02. I'm not quite on the... So minus... So that is actually minus 0.02. That is minus 0.03. Minus 0.03. Minus 0.02. 0. That has worked in terms of this is now within it's 1 thou within parallel, so it's well within the 7 thou specification. So we can now move on. Thankfully, we can now move on and we can check the run out now of the bell housing. From memory, it was 7 thou, which I've got the offset out in that direction. So I don't need to check the parallel. It's parallel now, so that is a massive plus. So now let's move on and just check this bit. Okay, so now we are set up to work out what the run out's going to be. I've zeroed the gauge, and so now what I need to do is turn the engine over. So we'll find the highest point. We then mark that off, zero it at the highest point. We do 180 degrees and we measure that dimension. We divide it by 2, and that's the amount we have to move the bell housing and in that direction. So for example, where it is now, if it's, let's say 0.2 of a millimeter over here, then what we have to do is we have to move the, it will be negative because it will go in a minus. So it'll be positive minus, because we've found this will be the positive, the highest point. This will be the lowest point theoretically. And then, and we know then we have to move the whole bell housing in this direction by 0.1 of a millimeter, if that makes sense. So let's now find the highest point. I think it's here somewhere, is from memory. Let's move it around now and find that. Okay, here we go. So it's climbing. Okay, it's still climbing. I think it's sort of there is my gut feeling. I'm just going to put a little dot there because I think that's where it is. It should be coming back now. It is. Now it's going negative. It stopped there. So so what we're going to do now is mark that, yeah, and then if we put a little line under our measurement here, we won't get confused, and that is 0. We'll just now re-zero the clock. And I would suggest, hang on, I've drawn that all wrong, Tom. It should be more like that. And I would suggest it's going to be about here somewhere. Yeah. So now what we should see is a negative figure. So let's now move it around. Now it's going into a negative, and we're going to just stop it there, and then we're going to take that reading there, minus 0.059. So we have 0.09. So let's just put that in here a minute. 0.59, which is 23.2 thou, right? 23.2 thou, 23.2 thou. Divide that by 2. Yeah, so 23.2 thou divided by 2. So to get to absolute 0, we need to move the bell housing in this direction, 11.6 thou, but I don't have an 11.6 thou. So if I minus that, minus 7, which brings us to 4.2 thou, which is within tolerance in that direction. Right, let's get the bell housing off. Let's get these dowels in and then get it back on again. Okay, so these are the offset dowels, and would have been quite handy if they'd actually put on mark which way the offset goes. So I think I've figured it out. I'll put a little mark on the end of it. So if we grab our bell housing, you can see I've got the marks on the end. Now, I think the offset dowels need to be like that. Now, I think they're going to, I'm going to be able to adjust them slightly when they're in the car, I think. So let's just tap those in. That groove is sitting sort of just beneath this surface here. So now when I actually put the bell housing on, it means that now the offset should be correct. So let's get the bell housing on now. Like that. Okay, so here we go again. Now what we want to do is find the highest spot. Right, so this reading is minus 0.14, which is better. So let's stick that in, work that out. So that's 5 thou. So we're well within the tolerance. So I'm going to call that done. Hurrah! That's fantastic, brilliant. I'm so happy with that. Oh, that has been a challenge, I can tell you. So yeah, I have to thank Brian from Rowcraft and Ben from Simply Performance. You know, the remachining of the bell housing is not part of the service that they actually offer, but they did actually help me out with it all. So you know, a huge thank you to them. And yeah, this is absolutely brilliant. And so so yes, we can move on. So in the next video, I'm going to be putting all the clutch together. I've got a small wiring loom I've got to do for the gearbox. And then hopefully by the end of that video, we'll actually have the gearbox in the car, which would be fantastic. So I really hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please do hit the like button and subscribe. And I'm really looking forward to the next video. So see you all then. Hang on. That dimension's not quite right. So I didn't actually divide the number by 2. So it's actually 2.5 thou. That's even better. So anyway, let's crack on with the next video. Let's get this gearbox in now, shall we?